Remember your first vacation? You piled in the family car and headed off on an adventure, staying at a roadside campground, cooling off at a swimming hole along the way. Maybe it was your first look at Old Faithful, your first encounter with a real live bear. Times have changed. Your vacation time may be more limited than ever. Why not make your next vacation an American adventure, exploring out-of-the-way places steeped in history and tradition, discovering an American landscape rich in natural wonders and fascinating people. On your next vacation, we invite you to steer clear of interstates and gimmicky tourist traps. Get to know the real America. 5 great vacation drives await you. On our first trip, we explore the colorful Chesapeake Bay region, from Annapolis, Maryland to Tangier Island, Virginia, where the water is the very heart and soul of life itself.
Annapolis, and very historic in many, many ways, many beautiful things to see, things to learn. This is a Tussie Mussie. It smells wonderful. Everything is very charming, very antique, very early American. It's a wonderful place to come to. Water, of course, is the real plus to Annapolis.
Annapolis is the sailing capital of Maryland. For the student, the Chesapeake Bay is an ideal classroom.
Ready about, helms to lee, and sheets.
Sailing in the Chesapeake is a real good place to begin because you don't have the high seas and things like that and the bad currents that you have other places. So you can concentrate on the basics. Okay, we're going to get ready to tack. Everybody ready?
I believe that everybody has some kind of artistic self within them. It's a sort of an art, and it's a great way to relax.
This is my life, each and every day, right in the waves of the Chesapeake Bay.
Once back on land, the drive takes us across the Bay Bridge for a different kind of boat trip.
The female osprey sitting on the nest here. They're just starting to nest down, gang.
The Chesapeake Bay Foundation runs skipjack trips out of Annapolis and other cities on the bay. Their mission, to teach kids and adults about the fragile bay environment. We joined a school group leaving out of Chestertown.
A lot of the kids we take out have never been on the water. And so that you've got that atmosphere right away. And then the most fun I get from being on the boat with the kids is if I can really get across a good lesson about the history and the culture of the oyster industry.
Hey, everybody ready?
Every winter, people just like Earl get up on these boats and go arstering. And you have to say it like that too, arstering.
Let it go. It's a hard job, and it used to be a money-making job. It ain't no more.
Anything in there?
Yes, you're full of money.
All right.
When I held the oyster in my hand, it was rough, it was sharp, it had worms on it and some mussels and some little baby crabs on it that were really small.
It's special for me because it does for me what I cannot do in the classroom. I will want them to tell their parents about how important the bay is and stress it to the point that their parents would become involved in doing something to help save the bay and to keep it a livelihood.
From Chestertown, we move on to St. Michael's for a taste of the past and the catch of the day.
When you come to the Maritime Museum in St. Michael's, we're right on the harbor, and it's an historic harbor, and the views are incredible, so just coming here is enjoyable in itself.
The boat shop is part of the Maritime Museum, the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum. And it's basically working on the boats and various other fixtures around the museum that need repairing, restoration, and such as that.
You really get a sense of timelessness coming here.
Well, wooden boats are a part of Chesapeake history.
It's not much different from how it used to be. We're slowly getting into the 20th and 21st century, but you can enjoy that pace here still now. Laid back. I guess this is where that word came from.
How are you doing? Oh, we're fine, thank you. It's a beautiful day today.
I like to come to the Chesapeake because of the crabs. There's nothing better than the Maryland crab. This will be fun. You'll like this.
There you go.
All right, what you do first, you break off the legs.
Okay, now hit that part right there. Good shot.
You pull it open.
Oh, really?
Which then enables you to pull off the shell.
And you have the fun of making a big mess like you did when you were a kid, but it's okay?
Just tastes good. It's like a mini lobster.
If you know anything about the Bay Area, it tastes like the Chesapeake Bay. It's really salty. You can taste the mud inside the crabs, and they're good. They're nice and spicy. Really traditional about the Eastern Shore.
Oh, good.
Eat 'em up. This is the best fun I've had in ages.
Our next stop is Oxford, where we'll discover more rich Chesapeake Bay tradition. You can get there by car, or you can take the Talbot Ferry.
It's just a pretty place to visit anyway, so we get a lot of families.
Go ahead, sweetie. Come on.
Down by the water, visitors can see modern-day boat builders carrying on a family tradition more than 3 centuries old.
We have been in boat building long before this yard. Someone in the family, John Cutts, began the first shipyard on record in the United States. That shipyard, I think, was 1646, and it's the earliest shipyard on record. Going in a sail plan. The ballast will be split in the middle.
Right.
The pattern for it. When we build a boat for somebody, we try to fit that person, suit that person, just like we were painting a picture. And people come to visit the place because they find it intriguing. They like to think that Geppetto is still in his little workshop, working away, making little talking toys. Well, we still make toys.
From Oxford, we drive south to Crisfield and catch the mail boat to Tangier Island. Here, the old ways of the watermen are alive but fading. It's a rare glimpse of the bay's past that may soon be gone.
My day, when I was a youngster, I couldn't imagine going any farther than Crisfield. And today, of course, there's no limit. I would say that Tangier is a unique community and that those who have opportunity shouldn't miss it to visit because it offers some aspects and some views that you can't find anyplace else.
This is my land, land of the free. This is my home, where I want to be.
A typical day on the water is getting up early, leaving the dock at 4:30 in the morning, and cruising your way down, and the whole time you're steering that boat towards your crab pots, you're hoping that those crab pots are going to be full of crabs. It's hard work. You pretty well have to work on the water until you it's time to retire, or you're pretty well done for it, but that's what keeps you young and alive, is hard work. 'Cause I'm a crabbing man. I'm a Tangier Island, Chesapeake Bay crabbing man. People should come to see Tangier because this is a place where you can forget about today and not worry about tomorrow until you leave this island to go back home. I really appreciate tiny Tangier.
The next drive explores the less-traveled Gulf Coast of the Sunshine State. From Corkscrew Swamp near the Everglades north to Cedar Key, we'll bypass the condos, the theme parks, even Florida's famous beaches to discover Old Florida.
The Seminole people had always lived in Everglades. The Indian culture, their belief is that the earth is their mother because they came out of the ground. And the Everglades itself is beautiful, it's quiet, and you hear the wind blowing on top of you, on the top of the trees. Once you go out there, you see some things that you never seen before, some animals in their natural habitat, and beautiful birds that lives in the woods.
So it wasn't a Nashville warbler. I think it was a bigger than a warbler also.
You're outside and you're looking at nature, and there aren't so many people.
This is the neatest place, really. We've seen lots and lots of birds and some other wildlife too.
From Corkscrew Swamp, it's an easy drive to the Everglades. But once there, it's best to leave the driving to someone else.
You take an airboat ride. It's great. It's exhilarating. Speed.
It's really different. It's really beautiful out here. Sometimes you'll be coming up on a place that looks like solid land, and then you go right through it and it's water.
We saw a big flock of white ibises. Ebi? A huge flock of white birds landed just over there. It was great to see them.
You get people out on the boat for the first time and they're just amazed. This is such a unique way to see the Everglades.
We came all the way across the country here because, you know, this is something so different and so unusual that we wanted to make sure the kids would have an opportunity to see the wildlife the way it is. And so far, I mean, it's fantastic.
This is the real Florida. This is where the roots began.
Welcome to Smallwood Store, a genuine slice of old Florida life.
The store opened for business in 1906 and remained open and operational until 1982, serving as a store, a post office, but more important, the first site in Collier County where the Seminole and Miccosukee Indians came to trade with the white man. We're hoping to recreate for people, old Florida. They can walk through the door and actually feel as though they're walking back in time.
Closer to the Gulf on Sanibel Island is the Ding Darling Wildlife Refuge, a scenic preserve where visitors experience the real wild Florida as it used to be.
We're driving through in a van, and it's great because you can see things on the left and the right, and you just kind of take your time and you can get out when you want to get out, and when you want to ride, you can ride.
The male and female work together. The female feeds them, the male does the hunting, and she just brought a fish.
We like the preserve because it's something that you can't see anyplace else in the country, and we come from Cleveland.
It's interesting in that it's not like a zoo where it's a little bit easier to see all the animals. This is kind of a little bit more nature and its regular habitat.
Look, Mom, look at the alligator. Sometimes the alligators are kind of hard to spot, you know, because they look like logs. Then you say, whoa, that's not a log, that's an alligator.
Joe, you want a drink? Part of the experience is always being in your car with the right kind of friends. And if you've got a group like we do, we've been having a great time, you know, cracking jokes and telling stories and relaxing. You know, you can take your shoes off and stretch a spell.
We just all get into the car and look around. It's a family vacation. It brings the family together.
Along the back roads in Florida's farm country, local growers offer some roadside attractions of their own.
I think you get to see some of Florida at its best when you see the vegetables and the produce growing, and when you see the fresh oranges on the trees and get away from the commercialism.
Most all of our produce we grow here on the island, or we get it from other local farmers that we've known for years.
This is like a homey type thing, and you can get the freshest vegetables. I've never eaten strawberries as good as I've gotten here.
Tomatoes, they got real good tomatoes, homegrown tomatoes right down here.
Okay, these are snapdragons, and they last for a long time. They keep opening up because the buds at the top will open, and they're just pretty little individual flowers on a stem.
The flowers are colorful and beautiful, and well, this represents Florida.
Well, this is great. Someone else is growing them, and you get to pick them. Oh, it smells wonderful.
Our drive continues north to discover Florida's Cuban connection. Ybor City in the heart of Tampa.
What's special about Ybor City is its heritage and the tightness of the community. The cigar means to Ybor City is that it put Ybor City on the map and Tampa itself. That's what started the whole booming business in Tampa. It brought businesses to Tampa.
I really don't like the smell of the cigars, but it's very interesting how they still hand roll them. It's amazing that they haven't changed the way of doing it for many, many, many years.
When I was a kid, I used to come here, and I've been coming here for 29 years. There's nothing like the silver ring. There's nothing like a Cuban sandwich. You got to try it, and then you'll know, you know.
Without the Cuban bread, it ain't a Cuban sandwich.
It's hard to describe because it's so good.
Smoked ham, roast pork, salami, Swiss cheese, pickles, mustard and mayonnaise if they like.
You got to try it, and then you'll know, you know.
Leaving the city of Tampa behind, it's a relaxing drive to Cedar Key, a gentler, quieter side of Florida.
When you come here to Cedar Key, the first thing you see when you're driving over the first bridge, how it opens up, and I just find this absolute peace.
You might say that time stood still here. People have to scratch for a living at Cedar Key.
We get 40 cents a pound. That's not even $40 in that box. And there's 2 boxes, that's $80, and I got $60 worth of expenses.
They have that rugged, weather-beaten look. I don't mean in their looks, really, but I mean in their character.
Where visitors see proud old homes and panoramic island vistas, artists see endless possibilities.
For me, there's just a lot of things to look at Cedar Key as far as texture and the landscape, the color.
Cedar Key has something about it that is unique. I find nothing like it anywhere else.
Oh, this is an experience that I wouldn't want to miss for anything.
On our next trip, we discover the down-home hospitality of the Ozarks. From Mountain View to the Buffalo National River near Jasper, we'll meet an eclectic collection of folks who just can't resist the lure of the mountains.
One thing I think about in the Ozark Mountains, especially with the music, it is a tradition here for people to pass the music on down to their children, and that's been the case in my family.
You learn it from someone that's kin to you, it makes you feel better.
I guess you'd call our type of music is folk music in overdrive. Each instrument has an individual sound, but together just forms what we call the mountain music.
At the Ozark Folk Center in Mountain View, we discover the down-home ways of the Ozarks still very much alive.
This is an educational park, and just about any of the crafts that are available on the grounds here do have either an apprenticeship or a training program that someone can pick up and learn.
It's a sight and a sound that you don't hear many places. The sound of the hammer, the sound of the pounding on the anvil is kind of hearkening back to another day.
It means a great deal to me that I can carry it on so that younger people come through and can pick up and see that this is not really a lost art. We never know. We may need it again someday.
I've been making chairs like this for over 10 years. And since most of the work is done by eye and by feel, it's the skill in my hands that really makes it happen. The large rocking chair that I made for President Clinton represents about 35 hours of work stretched out over a 6-week process. I have a great sense of personal satisfaction from making chairs this way.
I think a trip to the Ozarks and the Folk Center makes it special because you can see a bit of history. You can see how people used to live.
Mountain View, our Arkansas route takes us to Eureka Springs, an old resort town in the heart of the Ozarks.
Carl Sandburg, the Chicago poet, said that in the Ozarks, the mountains don't get any taller, but the valleys get deeper.
Eureka Springs is a very unique little town.
If you combine Garrison Keillor's Lake Wobegon with Greenwich Village,
It's built on the side of a hill. It's either up or down.
the terrain really affects the type of people that are attracted here. That just as there's an unevenness and an up and downness, so we attract people that are a little bumpy, a little bit uneven. I mean that in a positive sense.
The nickname that they have given it Little Switzerland is very true because the European style buildings are very unique. You don't see them a lot of different places.
A lot of wealthy people used to stay in these homes, and they came down here for the spring waters.
We love antiques and I love shopping, and so we decided to drive down, and we're not sorry we did.
And also another soup that's not on our menu this evening is a gumbo zeb, which...
At Eureka's Dairy Hollow House Inn, diners get a taste of new Arkansas cuisine from chef Crescent Dragon Wagon.
So essentially we take regional ingredients and traditions and play with them.
Good evening. You're packing tonight?
The inn reminds me of my great-grandmother's house. She lives down in southern Arkansas.
We do a buttermilk pie here that is, as one of the people that used to work for me said, so good you'd stomp your mama for the last bite.
It's the peaceful spirit of the Ozarks that draws people to Thorn Crown Chapel, an architectural treasure just outside Eureka.
The timbers are built going toward the sky, and it just reaches up toward the sky, toward God. Faye Jones designed it to fit into the surroundings and to express the feeling of freedom and peace and openness and gentleness. But yet there's a strength here.
As in this chapel here, certainly it's trying to be very responsive to its natural setting. That's always been something I've been very concerned about, that the building have a sense of belonging to the place. It'd be very appropriate to that place. It somehow draws some kind of its strength and its energy from that place.
Today I had just inside the chapel a really spiritual experience, and you know, it's maybe the highlight of my whole trip, just being here in this peace today.
We have one fellow that comes every year, spends about 45 minutes. He says, I get enough peace during that time to last me the rest of the year. It is a very peaceful place.
It's a short side trip from Eureka to the Arkansas-Missouri border. There we find the rustic homestead of an Ozark Mountain herbalist.
I grow things that are native to the Ozarks, medicinal herbs, things that repel bugs, things that are used for first aid, things that are seasoning herbs. When you walk into my shop, you'll find things hanging from the rafters, things that are everlasting plants that are dried for decorative uses. All of the seasonings that I make here at the farm are displayed inside, so you're getting the smells of those. It's a very pleasant lifestyle, but it's a lot of work. My garden all works together. The animals contribute compost and mulch and straw. I recycle everything, both out of the garden to the animals and from the animals back to the garden. The environment is very pure, and a lot of people come here who are well educated and traveled and want to protect a piece of the earth.
The final leg of our Arkansas drive takes us down scenic Highway 7 to the Jasper area, our put-in point for an adventure on the Buffalo National River.
This is gorgeous.
The river itself is just absolutely beautiful. You know, this upper wilderness area, there's no motors allowed up here, strictly nothing but paddles.
This is like a little piece of heaven right here. Down in the Ozarks. This is gorgeous. It really is. It's just beautiful.
There's an old tale here in the Ozarks that when people come to visit, you only have 3 chances. The first time you come, you like it. The second time you come, you fall in love. The third time you come, you bring your bags and stay.
This great vacation drive follows a path from San Antonio to Austin on the back roads through the Texas Hill Country.
I think this is a special place in America because this is truly, cowboy country. You can feel it, and it's part of this heritage.
This can work. That's his bingo.
This is where it began.
In San Antonio, people enjoy the excitement of the Riverwalk and visit the Alamo. But the Alamo is only one of a chain of Spanish missions you can visit to explore a Texas that existed before the cowboys came. The San Jose Mission is an easy drive from downtown.
San Antonio is a special place because it's a completely different culture. We're not exposed to the Spanish culture like this and the mission culture like you see around us right here.
It's like stepping back in time. You can picture the priest walking through the Franciscan priest walking through the grass and holding mass and talking to the Indians, and it's just like stepping back in time. I think it's beautiful.
From San Antonio, the drive heads for the wide open spaces and stops at a working cattle ranch. This one in Mountain Home.
It's perfect to stop at a ranch when you're driving through the hill country because it's a perfect 1 day or 2 day little getaway.
Well, spin my spurs and kink my rope. I've soaked up too much campfire smoke. Yodel-lady-o, yodel-lady-ay, yodel-o. I've been doing this cowboy thing ever since I was big enough to walk.
My favorite thing about horseback riding is because I love the horses and I think they're really neat.
It brings out the kid in them. It gets them back to their fantasy of living in the Old West, being a cowboy, being a cowgirl, and they love to get out away from the hustle and bustle of city life.
You sort of imagine what it was like hundreds of years ago when there were real cowboys riding around like that. And nostalgic, really. See all the longhorns and things.
They're part of history. The longhorn is what was left here in Texas when nothing else was left. And this is what made the Wyo Ranch. It's what made a lot of the different ranches in Texas.
I just like to get out like we did now this morning, get out on horseback and ride around the ranch.
I like cooking breakfast.
I enjoy cooking too. The food tasted better. And bacon and eggs, you know, everything tasted better.
So people are usually pretty surprised, especially when they come to the hill country for the first time. It's a simpler way of life. We're a little bit more slow-paced.
Devastation rides upon my breath, and I scare the ladies half to death. When I ride back in the saddle, lets the yodel go. Yodel-lady, yodel-lady,
Well, I just like the wide open feeling and like to see the beautiful vistas here in the hill country. Every curve gives you a little different look.
Back roads lead to the small towns of Texas, like Comfort, where the name says it all.
Comfort is just a good, comfortable place. It really is. When people come to Comfort, they know they're in the pretty little hill country, quiet and peaceful. They can roam here in town. They can go across the street, walk down the street. They just like it. It's a small town atmosphere.
My great-grandfather bought this business in 1856, and then they ran the business till 1907. What these big books are, we call them the day books or ledgers. July 1st, 1884, and the first entry is tobacco, 50 cents, ointment, 30 cents, apples, 25 cents, flour, $2.
The Texas Hill Country looks like, it looks like what a lot of people might think paradise might look like.
From Comfort, it's a short drive to Stonewall and the natural beauty of the LBJ State Park, the pride of former First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson.
When we were in the White House, it gradually dawned on me, and I guess perhaps the moment of dawning was when Lyndon made a speech at the University of Michigan in which he used the expression, the natural beauty of our country. I thought, that's for me. I guess the reason I am so fond of native things is because I like a sense of place. I like Vermont to look like Vermont, and Texas like Texas.
Down the road in Austin at the National Wildflower Research Center, Mrs. Johnson has sown the seeds of her dream to preserve Texas wildflowers for generations to come.
The bluebonnet is our state wildflower, and we practically genuflect when we mention the name. I just like nature's mixture of the pink, the lavender, the white, the red. I really like, I guess, the just the whole Persian carpet of all sorts of mixed up colors. I'd hope they wouldn't be in a hurry and would get out of the car and do some walking. It belongs it's deep in the hearts of everybody.
People should come to the hill country, see a very marvelous piece of this great country of ours. And it's beautiful.
Just thankful that we still have this open country that good Lord give us. There's no feeling like it. Just being out with nature, love the horses, I love the longhorn cattle, and just the outdoors. Yodel-lady, yodel-o, yodel-dee-lady, yodel-o.
On our last vacation drive, we explore the great outdoors in Washington State, from Mount Rainier through Seattle to the beaches of the San Juan Islands.
I love visiting Mount Rainier to see the glaciers, the beauty. It's always beautiful, always changing.
There's a lot of snow and rain that falls, and that snow and rain is what builds these magnificent glaciers. I climb mountains all over, and this is where I spend my time teaching people how to climb. You always want to have the buckles on the outside. Okay, we got the slings, Swami belt to the leg loops with the locking carabiner. So now I'm all set to go. This is a perfect place for someone just passing through the Seattle area to come and experience mountain climbing, to actually go out and walk on the glacier, take a basic mountaineering course, a glacier travel course. Okay, I want you to match my tracks exactly.
That was my first time on a glacier. It was great. It really takes a lot of technique.
Good job, really good, you guys.
It's a good challenge. It's a lot of fun.
Heading north from Mount Rainier, a different kind of outdoor adventure is waiting at Index.
When you're approaching Index Rock, you know, it's a spectacular rock, and it really kind of gets you excited, like you want to climb it.
Boy, that ledge looks appealing. I don't know, Carnell, I think I should have taken up golf.
Okay, climbing. Anyone can feel a sense of accomplishment, you know, when they try this kind of sport.
It's about an hour's drive from the tranquility of Index to the rich diversity of Seattle.
Seattle is a very cosmopolitan city, I think. But it's not too large.
Anybody that comes here has to go to the Pike Place Market.
Sweet tender corn today.
It's colorful. It's got everything you could possibly want. The Pike Street Market does.
Fresh king salmon today, folks. Fresh sockeye salmon, fresh steelhead.
I've never been to a market quite like this.
Small king, fillet king. Small king, fillet king. Oh, mwah. Follow your fish, ma'am. They'll take care of you right over there.
You see this? Look at this.
Look at this.
She's fully dormant.
It is kind of fun because these people are really loud and they throw the fish around and it smells weird and it's fun. I like it.
On a visit to Daybreak Star Cultural Center in Seattle, the rich Native American culture of the Pacific Northwest comes alive.
A friend of mine just made me a few tools, and I went from there, from doing one mask and having a lot of fun doing it. So I just sort of went on and made more and more. I'm basically doing it to represent like my heritage, the people that I knew, the elders that I knew.
There's not too many things that we can hold on to. And the dancing, the language, and the arts that we do, that's some of the things that we can hold on to.
I feel very special because I have a chance to carry on the tradition. And I am very grateful for that chance.
From Seattle, we drive north to Mukilteo to catch the car ferry for Clinton on Whidbey Island. It's mass transit, Washington style. While we're in the mood for alternative transportation, why not take a bicycle trip?
Hello. Biking on Whidbey Island is exhilarating. You get out in the fresh air, you can smell the sea. The scenery is unforgettable, and it gives you an appetite to want to taste the seafood here.
How you doing? All right, we're in Green Bank, which is the center of Whidbey Island, and we're cooking up a lunch for these cyclists. The secret, good mussels, is red wine vinegar.
If you've never been to the Northwest, the one thing that's indicative of this area is the seafood. Here's some Nisqually Delta oysters, freshly cooked for you.
Great. I hope they remember that they've gotten good food and that they've tasted the best of the Northwest.
From Green Bank, it's an easy ride up Whidbey Island to the quaint old town of Coupeville.
It's God's country, and he got real creative up here.
And I don't think that I've ever ridden anywhere that has more beauty and more things to do, more things to see than Whidbey Island.
From Whidbey, it's a spectacular drive over the channel known as Deception Pass. Then it's on to Anacortes, gateway to the San Juan Islands.
Certainly, fishing is outstanding here in Anacortes. We've got some excellent charter boats that can take you out and any day get you some type of good fishing.
He doesn't want to come back to the boat.
Come here, salmon. Oh, that's a pretty fish. Look at that. Look at that. And then we're lucky enough to see that bald eagle come down and take a fish right out of the water right next to the boat. Just fantastic. Even if you're not a fisherman, you can come out here in the islands and sightsee all day long and never have a boring moment. Between the islands and the wildlife, just fantastic.
Camping on the San Juans is a memorable experience, especially for families.
The scenery, the air, the weather, just brings it all together. Great place to camp.
Who's going to build a fire?
Special memories that I'd bring home from a camping trip like this are watching my daughter look into the tide pools and pick crab.
And you gotta skip stones and lots of stuff like that.
Who's ready for dinner? I'm ready.
I'm not. We got to build a fire and have lots of fun.
Storyteller tonight.
I will.
You are?
Yeah.
What story are you going to tell? A
My
ghost
favorite
story?
thing about camping is the fire because I like the sound of the crackling. Yeah.
Watching the sun come down, cooking salmon around the campfire, it's memories you take with you all your life. What it's like being out here is life just doesn't get any better. It's just a great place to be.
Female osprey sitting on the nest here. They're just starting to nest down, gang.
The Chesapeake Bay Foundation runs skipjack trips out of Annapolis and other cities on the bay. Their mission, to teach kids and adults about the fragile bay environment. We joined a school group leaving out of Chestertown.
A lot of the kids we take out have never been on the water. And so that you've got that atmosphere right away. And then the most fun I get from being on the boat and with the kids is if I can really get across a good lesson about the history and the culture of the oyster industry.
Hey, everybody ready? Yeah.
It's just gorgeous.
The river itself is just absolutely beautiful. You know, this upper wilderness area, there's no motors allowed up here. It's strictly nothing but paddles.
This is like a little piece of heaven right here. Down in the Ozarks. This is gorgeous.
Well, spin my spurs and kink my rope. I've soaked up too much campfire smoke. Yodelady-o, yodelady-ay, yodel-o. I've been doing this cowboy thing ever since I was big enough to walk.
My favorite thing about horseback riding is because I love the horses and I think they're really neat.
It brings out the kid in them. It gets them back to their fantasy of living in the old West, being a cowboy, being a cowgirl.
I love visiting Mount Rainier to see the glaciers, the beauty. It's always beautiful, always changing.
There's a lot of snow and rain that falls, and that snow and rain is what builds these magnificent glaciers. I climb mountains all over. This is where I spend my time teaching people how to climb. You always want to have the buckles on the outside. Okay, we got the slings, Swami belt to the leg loops with the locking carabiner. So now I'm all set to go.
See your country. Go and take it in leisurely in whatever your own personal love is, whether it's the seashore, the mountains, or the many, many sites of history.